Hey, how you doing, everybody? It's Adam, back at it with another video. I did my introduction earlier this morning, posted that. First off, I appreciate y'all taking a look at it and liking, subscribing, or make sure you like, subscribe, and comment anything you'd like to see me do in the future. But today, like I said in my introduction, I want to be going over mental health and fitness. But right now, I want to go over some motivation and a little story about me. So I grew up with my family. Obviously, I grew up with my mom, my brother, and my great grandparents. And we grew up very unfortunate because at the time, my mom was in between jobs and she was trying to qualify for welfare and she couldn't. So this is kind of orientating towards one of the topics. So topic number one for today is to be the hardest worker in the room. So I'm gonna name off four people, and I'm gonna start with my mom. My mom has to be one of the strongest women I've ever met in my entire life. Period. Point blank. Like everyone thinks their mom is a strong woman. I 100% believe that. But for me, my mom is a strong woman. My mom literally worked to the brink of to the brink of her mental state, and to just the brink of her like her body and her mind, to make sure that me and my brother were comfortable with clothes, food, and just the best schools, the best stuff we needed. Even when she couldn't even get some meals, sometimes she would give it to us. And I said my mom couldn't qualify for welfare. My mom worked a job that was 2 hours away from us from where we were living at the time. She would drive all the way there, put in mad hours at over there, hard hours at a surgery center she was working for, getting paid, I believe, minimum wage, or maybe even less than that. And she still put herself through school. And she was able to achieve her dream of becoming a surge tech while working hard, a hard job, which was 8+ hours, school, which was 3+ hours, and taking care of kids, which is a 24-hour job. Okay. Luckily, my mom had help with my great grandparents, but my mom was like, man, like she could have gave up at any moment in her life. She could have been like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Like I needed but she wanted better for us. And if my mom can do that, literally coming from nothing, working herself up to the top, now she has probably one of the best jobs that she's ever had, and she's happy, and she's making a lot of money, and she achieved her dream, putting herself through school, being a single mom, which is probably the hardest job in America, and working mad hours and driving all this time just to make sure that we had clothes on our backs and food in our mouth. My mom is like one of my biggest heroes. So, like I said, topic number one, being the hardest worker in the room. She proved herself by being the hardest worker in the room. She literally was at the bottom of that surgery center that was 2 hours away from us. And she worked so good and so hard and put in all that time and effort that doctors were recommending her, hey, I want you to go here. I want you to go there. I want you to work with this guy and this guy. Just because she was putting herself through that and being one of the hardest workers she could be. The next person I want to talk about is my dad. I'm going to wait till that goes. I'm stationed on an air station, so it's kind of, you hear planes all the time just come and go. My dad. My dad literally had a 180 in his life. I must be blessed. God gave me the hardest working people in America as my family. All I know is you got to get the job done and you work hard and it pays off. I'm going to wait till that goes again. All I know is if you work hard, the outcome will be tremendous. So I talked about my mom. Now I want to talk about my dad. My dad, growing up, was, for lack of a better term, a jerk. My dad was really mean to people, and because he was a big dude, he thought he could just pick on people and get in fights and all that, and do whatever he wanted to do. And unfortunately, it cost him. My dad was actually unfortunately shot, and my dad's a living miracle because he was shot in the heart, and there was actually a blood vessel that stopped the bullet, and that was a miracle. So around that time, my dad was like, "Man, like I gotta change." It took him a long time with his problems and him being an alcoholic and all this other stuff. But my dad hasn't really been like a hard alcoholic in 10 plus years. My dad's like the only person that says that I knew that went from like, thinking the street life was cool, getting in trouble was cool, this and that, to being like, nah, this is not what I want anymore. I'm going to be better. And he proved everyone that told him he couldn't do it, he proved them wrong. He was like, look, I'm going to be the hardest worker in the room. And all these people were like, no, you're not. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. You're going to be doing back to the same old thing you were doing before. And he said, watch. He said, watch me. He told me the exact words that his dad told him. If you want to reach for the stars, you can reach it. You just have to work for it. My pops is always working to the brink, just like my mom. He puts in a lot of hours as a truck driver, going far places, seeing our family sometimes not for weeks. And he does it to make sure that we always are taken care of. That man will work till he's bloody, till he's tired, until he's just, exhausted. But if he sees us suffer just a little bit, he'll work even harder. That man really does care about us. Because you know what? And people recommend my dad because you know why? My pops is the hardest working man in the room. My pops always says, I'm his hero, this and that. My pops is my hero. Just like my mom. My parents are my heroes. My dad never, if someone needs a job done, he goes, okay, I'm going to go take care of that job because I can. And he's like, I will. And people recommend him for good jobs too because he's the hardest worker in the room. The next person I want to get into is my stepdad. My stepdad is kind of similar to my dad. My stepdad had his problems. Went to prison. Unfortunately, don't want to really give out his details on why he went to prison. But he went to prison and he turned his life around. Most people who go to prison that I know and I experience who go to prison, they come out and do the same stuff. My stepdad was like, I don't want to do this no more. Like, it's not worth it. He went, proved himself, worked. Obviously, it was hard for him to find jobs at times because he has a record. But he says, okay, one little thing's not going to stop me. I want to be the hardest worker in the room. And he did. He's the only man I know to go to a job interview and say, I want a supervisor position. And you know what? He got it. Because he got that charisma. And people told the guy that he told him, I want to be a supervisor. And he called him. He's like, hey, how's Orlando like as a worker? And everyone was like, that's the hardest working dude. Like, out of everyone I saw, he was the hardest working one, putting in all these hours. Literally the next day he got a call, hey, we got this manager job open for you, you're going to take it. And he took it because he went in there and he was like, I'm the hardest worker in the room and I'm going to achieve my goal. Number 4, my Grandpa Joe. My Grandpa Joe, man, that man was my great grandpa actually, and he was the first person in our family to be born here in the States from Mexico. And my grandpa grew up very poor. Very, very poor. He started working at the ages of 6 and 7, and he didn't stop working until he retired. I'm not sure the exact year when he retired, but until he's retired. He worked from 6 and 7, from picking cotton to picking apricots, which is a fruit, in Pacoima, California, which is a little bit out of San Fernando Valley. And he told me, he said, Adam, excuse me. He said, Adam, he called me Guy, but he called me Guy. He was calling me Guy and Bingo. So I remember he said, Bingo, I'll never forget these words. He said, Bingo, I never want you to work as hard as I had to growing up. He always said that. He said, you're never going to be miserable working, picking cotton, picking fruit. And I said, well, like, I just remember asking him why, Grandpa. He said, because I'm going to take care of you. He says, I'm going to take care of you to a certain point, and then eventually you have to work hard for what you want to achieve. He never let me work. Wait till that goes again. It's so annoying. I'm so sorry. But from what he always told me, he said, there's another one coming. So, from what he told me, he said, eventually, since you're a young man, you eventually have to work for what you want to get and achieve. He said, I'm going to show you how to do things as a man. So eventually you can be the hardest worker in the room. I said, okay, Grandpa. And he showed me everything he says, look, either you're going to work hard and you're going to be the boss, or you're going to work, excuse my language, shitty, and then someone's going to be the boss over you. Everything I ever learned from that man, he taught himself how to play guitar, how to do carpenter work, and just how to be a man. He taught himself everything. Because he proved to himself that he was the hardest worker in the room. When all those people I named, everyone doubted him. My mom, you're a single mom, and you couldn't get welfare, you're not gonna make it anywhere in life. My pops, man, you were a former, street gang member, you were shot up, you were alcoholic, this and that. You're not gonna be a hard worker. Prove them wrong. My stepdad, you're a con. You're never gonna be a supervisor working at a good job. Prove them wrong. My grandpa is the hardest working man in the world. Coming from nothing, not knowing English, not knowing how to even write in English, working from he was 6 years old picking cotton and fruit, to teaching himself how to play guitar, becoming one of the greatest musicians in the Los Angeles area during the 1950s, and as well as working on the Ronald Reagan Library and building the house that I grew up in. Just because all those people proved to themselves they could be the hardest worker in the room. There's so many more people I can name, but those 4 people stuck out to me. So that's point number 1, be the hardest worker in the room. Point number 2 is prove all those people wrong. If you don't prove them wrong, you're just proving them right. Proving them right, saying everything they're telling you, saying, you're not going to be this. You're going to just go back to jail. You're going to go back to being an alcoholic, getting shot again. You're going to go back to being a single mom with no welfare and nothing, living at your grandparents' house. And my grandpa, you're never going to learn English. And calling all these racial slurs and beating up, etc., etc. But did I ever stop them? No. They were like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And I'm going to keep proving you wrong. And they did. And they achieved all those goals. And all those people, I remember the people that would tell them, I'm not going to ever name them because that's rude and that's disrespectful. I'm not going to ever name them. But those people that proved and try to say my family was nothing, all those people are doing nothing with their lives. And you know what? Do I feel sorry for them? Of course. I wish everyone can change their life around. But here's my question. Why are they trying to say you can't do this, you can't do that to other people, and then those people get proved wrong, and then those people that got proven wrong, they just stay where they are. You know why? Because they know, man, if I can't do it, I'm gonna ruin it for someone else. It's just how it is. And once they get proven wrong, they're like, well, I'm gonna keep being a hater. You can go ahead and hate. Like for me, doing what I do, start vlogging and start talking about motivational health and motivation and mental health and then fitness, people are going to hate. People are going to be like, this kid has no shot. Who is he? That's fine. But I'm going to prove to all of you that I can do it. Because if all those people who ended up being the hardest worker in the room, those traits passed on to me and they did, I'm going to continue being the hardest worker in the room. And I'm going to prove everyone wrong.